when we create our website, our different HTML pages will be linked to CSS files for styling. So there's different ways of linking CSS to your HTML. The way we'll be looking at right now is to have our CSS in an external file separate to the HTML file. So let's just have a look at these two files. So this is my HTML file, and I've got a link to my CSS file. So the HTML is where we have our content. That's things like text, images, paragraphs, other elements which contain information. And then we can style those elements with CSS. So what I want to explain is the CSS box model. Basically, when we have elements, they have padding, border, and margin available to use. So let's just have a quick look at that. So basically, when we have an element such as a div, or it could be something else, it could be a semantic element like a section or an article, we can have these different attributes around them. So the content is the element and the content of the element. And then around that, we can have padding. And then around the padding, we can have a border. And around the border, we can have a margin. So padding is like empty space around the content. Border is like a line or a dotted line around the padding. And we can alter the width and color and things like that. And then around the border, we can have a margin. So if we have a quick look at the web page I've coded up, I've got these two divs. So they're just basically generic elements or boxes or containers that we put stuff in. So with these two boxes, I've just got some text, and I've given the boxes some color and a border. Now, if we inspect those elements, the blue and purple sort of area in the center, that's the content itself. And then around that, we have, that one doesn't have any padding, that top one doesn't have padding, but it has a border and it has a margin. And if we look at the one below, it has the content and it has padding and it has a border and it has a margin. Now, one of the things which is a little bit confusing is that by default, the content, the width is calculated by adding the padding and the border to the width or the height. So if we want to get the height, it's the height plus the padding plus the border. And if we want to get the width, it's the width plus the padding plus the border. Now, this can be a little bit confusing because if we look at the code I've got, we've got two divs that look the same. And the CSS is mostly the same as well, except my second div has padding. And that padding is added to the width. Now, maybe I wanted to have padding, but I wanted my two elements to be the same overall width. And there's a way to simplify things, and that's by adding a little bit of code to every element on the page. And if we use this little bit of code, box sizing border box, what that basically means is that the padding and the border are included in the total width when it's calculated. So if I save that and go back to my page and refresh it, now the two divs are of equal width, and that's because the border box sizing, that means that the padding and the border are both now included in the total width instead of being added on at a later stage. So often what we do at the beginning when we're setting up our CSS is we set this box sizing to border box and we apply it using a wildcard or an asterisk. And that means that the box sizing border box will be applied to every single element on the page. And that can just make things a little bit more intuitive.